Good afternoon, Laurie. Pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Nice to be with you, Karen.
So I think what I want to accomplish today is just to have a patient perspective on KiteLock that Sterile Care produces. And myself as the CEO and founder of Sterile Care, and you as a retired businessman, have different sides to us. I have that clinical RN background and you have it as a patient. So this is just really to step into that mode and talk about, how you live your life, the disease that you live with, and how a product can enhance or change that disease path. So I think where I'd like to start is to have you speak a bit about what it is that you deal with on a day-to-day basis with your Crohn's.
Well, I'll speak about a little bit of background first as to how I got this way. I've had Crohn's disease since I was a late teenager. I had major surgery at that point after a 5-year diagnosis time interval. And what that left me with was a short gut. From about age 20 until 45, I was able to cope and stay alive with the little gut that I had left. However, I was chronically malnourished and eating all the time, skin and bones, and all the compromises that presented. The solution came 30 years ago for me when I was put on TPN, which is an intravenous fed nutrition that is delivered overnight in the home. And that's how I get the bulk of my nutrition. I'm still able to function during the day. I'm still able to function around the home while that's going on. I'm provided with a backpack with a small portable pump in it. And so I'm mobile within the home or within the yard, when the TPN is ongoing. But after 8, 10, 12 hours, I disconnect it and I'm functional again. Now, when I say it, what I mean is that.
Yes, what does intravenously fed mean?
That I'm intravenously fed, and this is the delivery mode. It is a catheter that hangs this far out of me, goes into the body, in the skin, across here, and down just above the heart. And that is the access point from which the TPN, or the nighttime nutrition, is provided. Now, what that has meant to me was that I went from an individual chronically malnourished and weighing 130 pounds, 6 feet tall, to one who weighed 165, or, there's no upper limit, and I've been beyond 165, but that's about a good weight for me. So I am fed overnight in the home, and at that weight, I'm no longer chronically searching for food. I'm no longer challenged with, being able to do things during the day, have the energy for it. And it's made a huge difference in life function and enjoyment. It still allows me to travel as long as you plan ahead. And I've done that. The simplest thing to do, given my situation with so many medical supplies that have to travel with me, not only the intravenous packaging of the food, one every day, but also the lines and the syringes, et cetera, that go along with that. The easiest way to travel is by cruise ship, because your bedroom stays in one place and the scenery changes all the time. The other thing is locally, you can travel in a hotel. It's more difficult to do a land tour because you've got to pack, unpack, and oftentimes refrigerate this product as you go along. So it's complicating, and as you get older, that wears on you. I've also gone to remote fishing lodges, and I'll use whatever surfaces to connect myself and function, and it works fine. So the therapy is not that restrictive if you accept the fact that there's more benefit than negative associated with it. So that, in a nutshell, is how I function and why. And then we're here today.
So great understanding of what you have to deal with every day. So you have your Crohn's disease that you're found a way to manage and create a lifestyle around it so that you can continue living and deal with this on the side. So where I want to go next is your venous catheter or your intravenous line. To me, I've heard many times it reference to your lifeline. So it is the modality that you need in order to receive that food on a daily basis. So what are some of the risks that can come with that lifeline that you think about and are worried about?
Well, the biggest risk with the therapy is sepsis. That is an infection either into the bloodstream or into the line, the plastic component, central venous catheter that is in you. And if the bugs get into you, they need to be killed, otherwise you don't survive. And the hospitals can and will try to deal with the bug, short of replacing the catheter. Many times they can, and sometimes they can't, in which case they have to replace the catheter. Well, you cannot do this on an unlimited basis, because every time you access something, you create scar tissue, and if the blood vessel is clotted and blocked, then you have to move to an alternate site. And the number of sites on your front that can be used for access are limited. They're limited to about 6 or so. And then they have to go somewhere else. It gets more complicated and more complicated for you as a patient in receiving the therapy and hooking yourself up, etc. So that fear of sepsis is an ever-present fear. Was for me. I had 20 years on TPN before KiteLock came along, and I had 7 or more sepsis incidents where the line had to be replaced in 20 years. That's an average of 3 years per line, and then they replace it. So, that's a constant worry. With KiteLock, that is no longer a worry because of the way that KiteLock functions, which is 3 ways. It is one of the only methods of keeping your line patent once you seal it up for the night, that can kill, eradicate bugs in the biofilm. In other words, bugs that hook themselves on to the inside of the catheter and become a source of infection. It's also a blood thinner, and you can tell us the third method because it's not worth me right now. However, I've been very successful, and I've had the advantage of that therapy or something similar, but not as good, for 10 to 12 years. And the last 3-4 years have been with KiteLock. Well, what KiteLock did for me was remove the threat of sepsis. And what I mean by that is I would no longer consider it. And to say what that meant, it meant that in terms of travel, I had been told previously that on cruise ships, I was taking my life in my hands if I went to the South Pacific, because the cruise company could not extricate me. There was simply no way to get me off the ship back to a major hospital and flown out of there. So I was told, don't try it. Well, that became not a consideration. And since then, we've traveled from Sydney, Australia, up to Bali and up the east side of Australia. We've circumnavigated South America, and believe me, you get to places down there where there aren't any reasonable hospital accesses. And I'd say that in summary, that risk is gone for me. And I wish it could be gone for everyone. And it is KiteLock that has made the difference. So does that answer your question?
Definitely answers my question. So you're referring to the triple threat that you have inside your venous catheter, which is clots from blood, bacteria get in there and start to grow and can cause an infection, and bacteria create what we call this biofilm, which lines the inside of the catheter and essentially is hard to get rid of. So KiteLock can go in and get rid of all three of those elements. So that lifeline that you have by putting KiteLock 4% in there provides you the protection that you want so that you can continue life and not worry about the complications that can come from that catheter, but about living your life and just managing your disease on a daily basis. That's a good summary?
Right. That's absolutely right. And your associate did mention to me that KiteLock is capable of killing all the bugs that hospitals cannot deal with. And if they get into you, you know, you're toast. But, and you can expand on this and provide the proper descriptive words, because there is not another product on the market that can make that claim. So perhaps you want to fill that in.
Yeah, so I think what you're referencing is we have a growing concern with superbugs. These bacteria are becoming smart and they are learning how to change so that antibiotics no longer work on them. So KiteLock can eradicate even superbugs that are found inside these catheters. So the new global mandate around the world is that we have to stop using antibiotics because we need to save them. So when we have infections, we have something to fight the infection. So the best way to do that is from stopping the infections from happening. The less infections we have, the less we use our antibiotics, the more viable they'll be when we need them. So that's probably one other great asset about KiteLock. And then the other one is we are the only lock solution that has been proven by regulatory authorities to be used in children because it has such a large safety margin. So you can use it and not worry about it having side effects, et cetera. Is that what you were referring to?
That's exactly it. And I understand your product has been accepted in Europe by the companies that use a CE authorization, and your product's also in Australia now. So if anybody wants to know, they can ask you where else it's available, what other countries it's approved for. But it has been available in Canada for some time. It is used in our TPN program in this province. It's used not exclusively, or sorry, not for everyone, but it is used whenever anyone's had an infection, which I think is poor. You got to get sick before they'll give it to you. But that's how this system functions, apparently. Yeah. But I've certainly had the benefit of it, and I'm a strong believer and very appreciative of it. And you know, I thank you for that and your work. You're amazingly ongoing in your efforts. You seldom accept no, and you get your product out there, and I'm grateful for it. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody who is on any kind of tube feeding regimen ought to have it available. That includes not only people who feed with this, but people who are on dialysis. You've got to lock those lines off. You got to close them off, and you want something in there that protects them and you. And they should have access to this product too. So wake up, world. Products there.
You know, if I have my nursing hat on, like I said, I'm very proud and excited to bring this product to market. And when I hear your story, that's close to my heart, because even as a nurse, I think clinically, so when you said as a patient that you worry more about your sepsis than your disease, that was very profound for me. So I'm honored that we can bring this product to the world and to patients like you to put a sense of ease to their minds that we can stop these complications. So thank you for all of that feedback. Before we sign out, is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I'll just confirm that my biggest concern is not and it's never has been Crohn's disease, and that's impacts everyone different. But my Crohn's is manageable. And my concern has always been sepsis. And now that is managed, as far as I'm concerned. So I can just add that as emphasis for this product. And again, my thanks to you for delivering the product. It's a pleasure to speak. It's a pleasure to speak about it, because I think everyone should have it available. So thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you, Laurie. I appreciate you sharing your message, and have yourself an awesome day.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye-bye.